Okay, so it goes something like this. I'll preface this by saying it's almost impossible to talk about this experience because it's almost a non-experience. It's beyond any experience you can possibly have as a human. It is the ultimate height of any experience that is even perceived as anywhere near possible. It's just so beyond everything you've ever experienced in your life. Every psychedelic, it's just being thrown straight into the middle of the cosmos. It's like loading a gun with the universe and firing it at your head. It's just beyond ridiculous. But I'll do my best. So it goes something like this. You sort of inhale for a certain amount of time, and then the effects are felt very, very quickly. Within about 10 seconds, there's the thought. Usually the thought comes in, "Well, you've really done it this time." you've really pushed the boat out a bit too far this time, haven't you? That was kind of it's the last remnants of the ego just trying to put up a little fight. Once it starts, there's no stopping it, and everything starts to go a little bit fuzzy. I lay back on the bed, and the whole room disappears into kind of fractal patterns of white light. Just very quickly, this happens in an instant, in a second. It all just, whatever is making up reality, the light that is coagulating into what we see as form, breaks apart into its more sort of natural state, into just fragments of whatever you want to call that. What I perceived only a moment ago as myself and as the world are no longer there. So the bed disappears, myself disappears, there's no self in other, that is gone, and it disappears into this overwhelming white, infinite kind of light. If there's a way of describing it, I guess it would just be like the light of a star. Kind of like when you look up at the night sky and you see some very bright stars. It's like all of those lights magnified into this just kind of white screen of just infinity. And there's no you, there's no world, there's nothing anything you ever identified as you is all gone within such a short amount of time. It spins your mind. So there's an unknown amount of time in this space which is just infinite oneness with everything. Not even oneness with everything, because there are no other things. There's no you left. All that's left is this sort of knowing. There's a knowing beyond words that everything in the universe is all the same thing. It's not a thing, but it's all the same energy. It's all the same, it could be said, awareness. It is only that. It is all comes from this one source, and there's no separation between any of it. Anything beyond that is pure illusion, and that this is the actual natural state of things. It's very, very much a homely feeling. And so there's a certain amount of time, even though time and space doesn't exist in this place, there's a certain amount of time spent in there, which may as well be days. It passes by on the clock as maybe 10 minutes, but it may as well be days, weeks. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't have any. There's no reference points as to what time is at this point. You've literally become what people call God, Brahman, the Tao. It's the absolute ground of existence, and it's all known. All answers to all questions are all known without using concepts or words. It's all just immediately perceived. Every question is just dissolved. There's nothing left to be known. And then after that, once the ego, just any smidgen of an ego starts to come back online, that's where things get, for me, very interesting. To start with, there were fears that come up. Oh no, I'm lost in infinity forever. I don't even know what I am. And the ego is trying to kind of go, what's going on here? And just get a grip. It wants to grip and put it in a box that feels safe again. But now, after a few experiences of that happening, what tends to happen is the ego is asking questions and going, so was there ever anything to worry about? If this is my true state, what was there to worry about? And it's almost like a conversation with the universe, although it's not. There's not like two me and another being. It's just a conversation happening by itself with answers immediately thrown back from God knows where. And it's like, no, there was no others. There was no worries. There's nothing to worry about ever. You've never left home. This is your home. Everything is always perfect, full of bliss and full of love. As hippie as that sounds, that's kind of the truth that's revealed. And after that, laughter begins, and not just like a normal laugh, like oh, there's a joke told. It's like the biggest joke ever told times infinity. And the laughter is like a stored up tension that has been released after eons of being trapped and condensed and twisted and believed in. And it's seen that you've just this whole time, all your worries, all thoughts of anything relating to worry, trying to impress people, worried about losing loved ones, about the state of the world, the state of other people, something someone might have said to you. It seems that ultimately there is nothing to worry about whatsoever. Everything is the same thing. That it's all a play of form, and the form is you. It's such a relief that this self, I call it the cosmic self, is like undressing its clothes. It's like, I've been wearing these clothes for millions of years. Let's let loose some of these clothes, and every time you laugh, it's like a cosmic laughter, like God is laughing through you. And it's like a releasement of these clothes that it's been wearing. And it's like, oh, finally. And then there's another wave of laughter. It's just an unstoppable roll of laughter, because every thought that I think about is immediately resolved. Every single problem I've ever had, every polarity, duality, anything, any position I've ever taken is immediately resolved and seen as ultimately ridiculous. And I've been subject to the greatest joke of all time, which is, I am the joke. The whole thing is the joke. There's nothing to ever worry about. We've chosen to do this. And I just begin this wave of unstoppable laughter. And every time I laugh, there's like a releasement of some layer of being. And the being expands and expands and expands. And the more I laugh, the more it expands. Oh, finally, I can stop pretending now. It's so blissful that it's laughter that comes out, but the laughter is beyond laughter, any kind of laughter I've ever experienced. It literally brings tears to my face, and I end up completely exhausted because it's just almost too much. And it's like we've left ourselves a breadcrumb trail of bliss home, and the further down the trail you go, it's like the breadcrumbs become cakes and then bigger treats, and it just gets better and better. The nearer home you get, the nearer the natural state you get, the more blissful and more full of humour and love and laughter it becomes. And the more nearer you get to this everyday waking life, which we classify ourselves as, a person in the world, the further away you get from that. But you never actually leave anywhere. You're always in that state. You just can't see it. So this happens, and this goes on for, it sometimes goes on for half an hour, an hour. And by the end of this, it feels like my heart has exploded and is encompassing the whole universe. And it can sometimes change quality at this point to where there's an outpouring of compassion and love for all beings, even beings that I, as Paul, in this relative world, take a dislike to. That actually they're all so beautiful and so full of love and bliss at their core. It's just they're wearing some clothes that for a little while. They're wearing these clothes of just being a very dislikable character, and there's no mistake in that. It's all just part of the play. And all of this it just makes my sort of whole being pour out with just love for everything, love for the whole of life, and everyone, and usually some laughter as well, still coming out, just mainly at myself, at the fact I've taken it seriously at all. that I ever worried about anything. That seems to be a very funny thing in that state. And usually I sort of end up exhausted and go into kind of a deep meditation and rest for a while if there's time, which I find a very sort of nice period of just sitting there in just kind of this blissful state of knowing, of feeling very connected to everyone and everything, and a lot of love for everything. And it's like, and in my most recent one, it was pictures of my dog and my wife and even squirrels in the trees outside came into my head. And I said to them, "Did you know this?" and they went, "Of course we knew." Like, we are it. And that just caused me so, like, I literally was in hysterics, like, and so much so, like, I was wailing with laughter. If you've seen it really clearly, you've sort of seen through the whole sort of facade of things, that we are literally just upholding these masks. And it's difficult not to look at everyone in a sense of love, as opposed to, oh, this person's in my way, and in Tesco, still get in my way, bloody pain. But it's the whole, it's like a perspective change. Nothing's really changed, but the view, it's almost like I've taken a higher view, like I've got on top of a platform and I can see everything a little bit clearer, as opposed to this ground view that we usually have of the world and of people. You can see a slightly higher view, you can see the slightly bigger picture of things. So when things appear bad, it seemed that actually that's only an immediate judgment of that situation being bad. In what's true is beyond good and bad. And there's no such thing as a bad thing. In one way or another, that thing is happening for a reason, and it will turn out absolutely fine. And it goes beyond any kind of, it carries on beyond any sort of remnants of any chemical interactions that may have gone on in the body, which may have caused this state. It just pours out into everything I do at the moment. And I have noticed since I have had any experience with 5-MeO, is it's just poured out that love and that bliss in that state. Unlike with other sort of psychedelics, it's not just seen as, oh, that was interesting, what can I integrate into that? It's just like, and whether you want to or not, that love at the core of everything is just known much more fully and pours out onto everything in the form of humor, laughter, love, bliss, all of the what we'd call positive qualities. And it's not like you're trying to be positive, it's just outpouring. It's like this vessel is just overflowing with that. The thing is, there's no such thing as time. In that state, it seemed very clearly there's no such thing as time. What the thing that powers this life itself, is never ending. It can't be. It's outside of time and space. It's not part of this play. And I don't know the reasons behind it, if there are reasons behind it, or what our whole game is here that we've got going on. That's not completely clear, but I know that it is just a game, and it is, the truth of what we are is eternal. It's eternal, and it's blissful, and it's full of love, and it sounds too good to be true, but it just is known that that's the truth. It's unbelievable that that's true. I'm, it's almost difficult to say these things because you just sound like a bit of a nutcase, but these things are true. It's just known directly, as clearly as when you go, what is the taste of an apple? And you eat an apple, as opposed to someone telling you whether there's life and death and stuff. It's like you've eaten that knowledge, you know it directly. And at the sort of core of everything, we can't help but be this blissful, pure love overflowing being that has just for a little while decided to dream up this life in a world, just for the sake of, because it's so full of love, such unconditional love. It can sort of outpour an experience as every possible experience, and sometimes that experience is what we call bad, but there's no mistake to it. It's just outpouring as that for a little while. It kind of seems like this is the trip, actually. As crazy as that sounds, this life every day is actually the trip. What that state is, is so simple and so perfect and so complete that this is infinitely more complex than what that state is. Like, there's so much going on here in everyday life, and the fact we're able to even have this conversation as apparent separate individuals is just crazy, really. But you never kind of question that, because seems like the normal state of things. To say it's predetermined isn't quite right, but it somehow is. It's like you can't quite see around the corner, but it's like part of you knows what's coming in a way. And that's kind of seems really funny. And I don't know why that's funny, but it's like none of it's a mistake. It's ultimately, you can't get lost and you can't lose this game. It's a game where everyone wins, but there is not everyone, there's only one. But it's a game you can't lose. The game is just to experience life. And that's it. You can't possibly lose. If you wake up in a dream, great, but that's no different to having a lucid dream and becoming lucid in a dream. There's no sort of higher purpose for that. It might just bring the quality of the dream a bit better. You might have a bit more fun with the dream, if that's your preference of dreams. But ultimately, the only thing we can't possibly go wrong. So, well, I think David Carr says it very well. I've got a little piece here from his book, Perfect Brilliant Stillness. And he says here, what would you give to know, absolutely know beyond any doubt, that everything really is all right, that there is no reason to fear, that there is no need to feel despair or loss or uncertainty, that all the pain and hurt and evil we have seen truly is only an illusion, and that the most beautiful things we have experienced are only a glimpse, a small taste of what is truly real and truly ours, that everything is all right, that everything is perfect as it is, that all is well. This is what I see and what I know. At the end of a human vision lies final ultimate truth. Inasmuch as such can be at all within our vision, even at its extreme limit, it cannot be experienced or thought of or spoken of, because it cannot be conceptualized. This ultimate beingness and ultimate consciousness overflows constantly in the outpouring of its essence, its nature, which is pure absolute love beyond our conceptions of love, complete compassion, total truth, ultimate beauty outpouring.